Well, I don't know what's going on today, but there's a blooming mess on my desk. Oh, me brew. Me have a slurp of me brew. Ooh, that's better. Right, I'm just going to clear the decks a bit. Try and make this a little bit neater for you. So, we can all see what's what. Hello, good morning, Carol here. So we've finished making all the bits in here. Now, I have to say that it shouldn't normally take you 15 days to get to this point. And this is where I've said to you in the past about have some of these elements ready so that you can just go dink, dink, dink and they're all in situ. And everyone has their own different way of making a journal. This is just the thought process that I go through. All right, so if you've paper clipped all your bits in place, these sort of bits, excuse me, you can now look through the signature and get a bit of a feel of what it's going to look like. And you're like, oh yeah, like that there, oh, not so sure about, oh, maybe I don't want that on that page, maybe I want it on that page. So you can do a little bit of swapping about. And as I say as well, the other thing that you've needed to consider as well as you've been going through this process is, does it need to be a paper page or a thin card page? And so that all then needs to be balanced out. But now you can get the general feel of what it's going to look like. You've got a bit of an idea, haven't you? Okay. So the next step then for me is then the process of, this is the stage now where I need to get sewing done. Because at this point, because they're individual pages, I can take them out and take them to my sewing machine. If I have stitched this signature into my journal cover, it's going to be a real pain in the butt. So, I can now start to look through at pages and think to myself, what pages do I maybe want lace on the edge? So, do I want cream lace? Do I want off-white lace? Do I want thin lace? Do I want thick lace? Do I want more than one lace? Do I want it just purely on the edge of the page? Do I want it at the top? Do I want it at the bottom? This is the fun bit. To me, it's not tedious because I like making these bits, but this now, the decorating part, is the fun bit. But this is again why I asked you to paper clip these things into place so that you can see where it's going to sit. Because as you can now see, if we'd put lace on the edge of this particular page, because I'm sitting that on that way around, it would actually look quite silly. Because this would be sitting on top of the lace and it wouldn't sit flat and blah, blah, blah. And then if I turn it over, I've then got this sat in the middle of this page with a little bit of lace on the edge. So that page might not look quite so good with having some lace on. The other thing is, do you want lace on this side of the page or on this side of the page? Because if I move that across and decided to put it on there, I could decide to put lace on this side of the page, this side, as opposed to this side, because I know I can't get it on that side because of this, but I could put it on this side and it just protrudes beautifully from beyond the page and frames the pocket. Alright, looks nice. And also, do you want to stitch that lace into place? Do you want to just glue it into place? And as I've said previously, this is now the time when, if you're going to sew it in place, you can take these pages out and go and take it to the sewing machine. You can also look at elements like the double tags and say, do I want some lace across the bottom? Do I want some across the top? Do I want it at the back? So then it's protruding from the back and making it look pretty that way. Lots of things to think about. Next thing then is adding extra things, extra pages, so to speak, to the signature. So at the moment we've just used full paper folded in half, but there's no reason why you can't at this point put in your index cards, your ledger cards, paper. Let me just move that out of the way a minute. So we could wrap that round there, and that's an extra little flippy bit. But one of the things you do need to think of, and let's see if I can find a page where it'll show this. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Let me use that one as the example. It doesn't actually apply at this stage, but you'll get the idea. So I think, oh yeah, put that in there. That looks lovely, like that. But what you've got to think of is if you lift the whole lot up and flip it over, does it actually go with what's on the other side of the signature? Or is there an element already on here that might be in the way that it doesn't sort of go with very well? So it's things like that. And then you've got your printed tracing paper, or your plain tracing paper, or your embossed tracing paper. So you get to fold that in half and you can insert that. You've got your bags, so you could fold your bag in half. Don't forget to cut this end open. So then that creates extra pockets. And you slip them in. You slip them in wherever you think, because these have got to be stitched into place. So you've got to decide where these are going to go, so that then when you come to sew the signature in place, they all get stitched into position as well. You also need to think about your doilies. Do I want to add a doily being wrapped around a page? Doesn't matter so much about being wrapped from this side, because we can glue that in. But if it's got to be stitched into the signature, then it needs to be in position so that it can be stitched in all at the same time. When it comes to the likes of your paper napkins and adding decoration on for your paper napkins, that's the sort of thing that you can do once the signature's in place. But you've got to think again, I've then got to leave that to dry, because now that it's all stitched into my front cover, I've got glue on top of there, and I can't shut this up, go away and leave it. I've got to leave it open to let the air get to it, to let the glue dry. Whereas if you do it when it's loose like this, you can take that page out, put it somewhere else, and be working on some more pages in the journal. So again, it's not necessary to do this bit at this point, but it is something that it is easier to do at this point. The other thing as well is you can now take some of these elements out and start to decorate them up a bit. This one's a good example. So here on this pocket, I can now take that out and start to decorate it up with my trims, because I'm not going to be sticking this in place until my signature's in place. So once I've done all the faffing about on all my pages and decided what I'm going to do, where I'm going to put it, I can be decorating these up as well. Then of course, there's your stenciling. Let me get this one out. The Tim Holtz ones, whilst I love them, I do find that sometimes they're so intricate, and this one's a little bit the same. These little intricate bits, they all flip back, and you've got to be real careful when you're stenciling. Now, it's easy enough to just position a stencil, do it all over or just do down the middle. What I want you to do though is to look at the item that is going on the page. Where would the stenciling look best to enhance that? Right, now if that was stuck to the page and I wanted to do my stenciling right up to this, I'd have a bit of difficulty in trying to get it so that it then didn't extend onto the page. Yes, I could cover it over, but that's fiddly. At least this way I can take the whole thing out. So let's just remove that. So I can take the whole thing off, do my stenciling and do it beyond the point where this is going to sit. So then when it's done, I can then sit that on top of there and it looks as though the stenciling has been done underneath. The same with this one. And of course as well, I can remove the whole page. So let me just remove that whole page. Let's just say that that's going to go on there. And oh sorry, you can't see that, can you? There you go. That might help. And you want to do stenciling around to kind of frame this a little bit. If that's glued in place, I now can't do it really easily. Whereas if I remove that, stencil that, stick that on top, the stenciling is then extending beyond the shape of this. Exactly the same scenario with stamping. If you wanted to stamp, because this is a garden related journal, if you wanted to do some kind of a vine that looked as though it was trailing through there, underneath there, and then coming out here, it's really difficult to do that if this is in place. Take it off, do it, even mark it roughly with a pencil, the outline of it, then do some of your stamping or stenciling, then stick that back in place. No one would be none the wiser, and they'd think that you were being really clever. Tomorrow's video, I'm going to actually show you how I do some of my stenciling and not stamping. I hate stamping. No, that's wrong. I don't hate stamping. I'm not very good at stamping, so I tend not to do a lot of stamping. But I'm going to show you how I do my stenciling, and I'm going to show you how to do the napkin decoupaging, although there's lots of videos out there already. For someone who's new to this, has only just joined us on this journey following these videos, I feel that I need to explain it a little bit of how you do that. So that's what tomorrow's is going to be about. So now I want you to go away and go and look at your journal in terms of where everything is, if you're happy with where it is, whether you want to move it around. It doesn't have to be in the order with which we've done it. It's your journal. Do with it what you want. If you don't want some of the elements in this particular journal and want to put them in another journal, that's absolutely fine. It's yours. Do with what you want. This is just a process to show you how I go through the thought processes. But now you can go away and look at those things and think, actually, I don't like that. I either want to redo it or I'm going to scrap it and I'll put something else there. You know, whatever. But you can think about the stamping, you can think about the stenciling, you can think about the decoupage, and you can think about the extra pages you want to put in. You can now go away and think about all of those things and start to implement them. That was it really, I think, until tomorrow. And as I say, I shall show you how to do some stenciling and I'll show you how to do some decoupaging with the napkins. Right, see you tomorrow. Bye.